The King's Avatar, Chapter 1711 The Chants in the Iron Plate, audio source, wushaworldaudiobook.com. Chapter 1711, The Chants in the Iron Plate. Translator, Nomyami. Editor, Nomyami. Luck. Those who understood the true reason for Steamed Bun's actions would all think this way. After all, this wasn't a prediction that had come from glory experience or awareness, it was just a childish instinct. Steamed Bun probably didn't understand the true danger of the attack that Wu Qi had Cruel Silence execute. But this kind of childish instinct, was it a type of intuition? It was hard to say. In any case, what happened now was that Cruel Silence was stopped short by Steamed Bun's paralysis needle, and after that, well, Tang Rou had never stopped soft mist attacks. When Cruel Silence suddenly appeared right in front of her, his dagger just about to hit her, Tang Rou had been extremely startled. In this kind of crucial moment, she had acted without thinking. Her attacks immediately focused on Cruel Silence. Without Steamed Bun's interference, Tang Rou's instinctive reaction really might not have come fast enough. But now, with Steamed Bun disrupting things, Tang Rou's immediate change of target became a huge burst. If she hadn't burst forth with an attack, then she would have been hit. In this kind of dangerous moment, did Tang Rou's ferocity even need to be mentioned? Yi Shi's Lord Grim had come over to help. But he didn't go to attack Cruel Silence. Instead, he headed towards Sun Xiang's One Autumn Leaf, blocking Sun Xiang's close-range support. Zhou Zekai's Cloud Piercer and Suma Chung's Dancing Rain were in a similar situation. Because these two characters were standing at a long range, no one was coming to disrupt them. Zhou Zekai readjusted his aim to try and force back Happy's surging counterattack. At this moment, Jiang Botao was truly a bit speechless. He still remembered that not long ago, he had been the focus of Happy's fire. How come, in the blink of an eye, his empty waves was left hanging out to dry? Happy's four characters, he couldn't see the face of a single one. What were they doing? Was there still a clear strategic goal? Was there still a firm plan? It was a mess, completely a mess. Right now, this was just a mess of a battle. Happy didn't have a clear goal or intent, they were just chaotically fighting. Samsara could only deal with the attacks as they came. With Happy's strange rhythm, Samsara had actually been forced on the defensive. This can't continue. Left to the side, Jiang Botao had a clear view of the battle. Happy didn't seem to have any organization, nor have a strategy, but they definitely still had a goal. This kind of large chaotic battle was a frequent sight in Glory's in-game arena. It was a path for the unskilled. Happy's skill was of course much higher than that of in-game players, but they couldn't change how low-end this kind of chaotic fight was. But this was exactly Happy's goal. They wanted to drag Samsara down into this low-level rhythm and atmosphere, and then use the thorough low-level experience to defeat Samsara. Right now, they could already see the effects. Samsara was being forced on the defensive, because this didn't follow the match logic that they were used to. The pro players on the field right now were used to taking a step and looking 3 steps ahead. But now, they couldn't see 3 steps ahead. Happy took 1 step and they followed 1 step, and then, that was all. They had to control the rhythm. They couldn't be dragged along by Happy. Jiang Botao was very conscious of this, and the other 3 from Samsara had noticed this as well. But Happy was pressing hard on Sun Xiang's One Autumn Leaf and Wu Qi's Cruel Silence, so for now the 2 of them could only follow Happy's rhythm. On the other hand, Zhou Zekai's Cloud Piercer was far away, and no one was interfering with his adjustments. No longer protecting those 2 people. No longer trying to disrupt Happy's offensive. Cloudpiercer's attack suddenly had a clear direction. Lord Grim. Yishu's Lord Grim. Well done. Jiang Botao praised him internally. Zhou Zekai's judgment was as fast and accurate as ever. Focusing Lord Grim was the best way of breaking the current situation. There was in fact some order hidden in the chaos of Happy's fighting, and Yishu was the only one taking responsibility for it. It was his Lord Grim that used the fast rhythm of switching between low-level skills in order to connect everyone else. Attack Lord Grim, and Happy's chaotic fighting would truly be reduced to nothing but a low-level struggle, and Sun Xiang and Wu Qi would be able to find a breakthrough point. One after the other, Zhou Zekai and Jiang Botao began a pincer attack. The two didn't communicate in their team channel, but the coordination of their offense demonstrated a tacit understanding beyond compare. Even though Zhou Zekai and Sun Xiang were the best partners of this season. But Jiang Botao, who had tied together Zhou Zekai and the rest of Samsara when he joined the team, was unquestionably the player that understood Zhou Zekai the best. It was only because he wasn't as flashy on stage as Zhou Zekai or Sun Xiang was. His coordination, his understanding, it was always demonstrated quietly. Right now, for example, Zhou Zekai's Cloudpiercer began firing powerful shots toward Lord Grim. In comparison, Jiang Botao seemed less hurried. Empty Wave's movements seemed to be slower by half a beat, but this half-beat difference perfectly cut off Lord Grim's path of retreat. The one who would shine beautifully on the battlefield would be Zhou Zekai's Cloudpiercer. And amidst this beauty, Jiang Botao would be doing the tiring, dirty work. He quietly supported Zhou Zekai. This was what he had always done after arriving at Samsara. Dodge. Under Cloudpiercer's offensive, Yishu had no choice but to control Lord Grim to dodge. But to the right was soft mist and steamed bun invasion. If he dodged in that direction, the fire would interrupt the rhythm of those two. If he dodged back, Empty Wave's wave slash had already caught up. He had no way of stepping back and adjusting. Right now, it seemed he had only one choice: going left. Going left, he would leave the three-person offensive unit he'd established. Going left, he would be acting within Samsara's predictions, and there would definitely be a more difficult offensive waiting for him. But aside from this, did he have any other choice? Go forward. Today, Happy had already demonstrated their courage numerous times. Under this kind of pressure, they frequently surge forward to fight fire with fire, even using their healer as an additional source of raw power. When they remembered Lord Grim swiftly charging forward, dodging the bullets that flew his way, with his myriad manifestations umbrella shifting hundreds and thousands of times in his hands, countless people were already jumping with excitement. But this time, Yishu let them down. Lord Grim didn't charge forward to Cloudpiercer, but nor did he move to the left as Samsara was hoping. He stepped back. Jiang Botao was stunned. Yishu hadn't chosen to meet Cloudpiercer and his gunfire head-on. He'd instead chosen to retreat backward. He was running toward the area under Empty Wave's control. A huge surprise. Everyone had been mentally prepared for him to charge through Cloudpiercer's fire, but retreating backwards, breaking through Empty Wave's end, no one had expected this. Because Jiang Botao's movement was slow by half a beat. This seemed as though his reaction was delayed compared to Zhou Zekai, but this was his strength. Acting just a hair slower meant that his movement was more effective. He waited to see Zhou Zekai's offensive before confirming how he would coordinate with him. With no attitude of fighting for the spotlight, his actions seemed simpler, yet they were more useful. WuxRWorldAudio.com. It could be said like this. Although Cloudpiercer's fire was sharp, Empty Wave's coordination was more dangerous. But there was a prerequisite. This danger depended on Cloud Pierce's powerful offensive. Without the pressure of this offensive, this so-called danger no longer existed. Jiang Botao's style was completely different from Wu Qi's. He wasn't trying to hide the deadly amidst the beauty. He simply used a more pragmatic style to support the beautiful offense of his teammates, especially that of Zhou Zekai. And his kind of pragmatism was more solid and reliable, so much so that although people would think of charging Zhou Zekai's spearhead, no one thought of charging Jiang Botao's iron plate. But Yi Zhu did exactly that. What's this guy trying to do? The pro players all let out exclamations of surprise. Everyone understood Jiang Botao's style and his way of cooperating with Zhou Zekai. They all knew that under these circumstances, Jiang Botao's area would pose a greater threat. But after everyone expressed their surprise, they all couldn't help but exchange glances. Reverse thinking. Yu Wenzu said, "That's bold." Huang Shaoshan said, as Glory's most famous opportunist, he could understand Yi Zhu's thought of, "This isn't an opportunity, but I'll make it one." Quote, but this didn't necessarily mean that this was a beautiful choice, only that it was an extremely bold one. No one would think that this was an opportunity, no one would make this kind of choice. As time went on, even Jiang Botao himself had gotten used to this kind of situation. He hadn't slacked off because of this, but when Yi Zhu's Lord Grim charged at him, he discovered that he was extremely unfamiliar with dealing with this kind of situation. He discovered that, in reality, he didn't have much experience in facing this kind of powerful charge. Most of the time, the opponent would be scared into retreating, and those that charged forward didn't do so with courage and belief. They had simply had a lapse of judgment and made the mistake of crashing against the iron plate. Yi Zhu hadn't made a mistake, Yi Zhu had acted on purpose. What he demonstrated was still that one word: fast. Turning around while retreating, beginning a skill while turning, moving at a high speed while beginning the skill. Jiang Botao saw all of this, but he couldn't keep up with this kind of rhythm. His awareness, his control, it all seemed to have entered cooldown. His controls hadn't stopped, but he himself knew, slow, too slow. Compared to Yi Zhu's fast, he was far too slow. In the blink of an eye, Lord Grim had arrived before him. That wave wheel slasher that had been viewed as an iron plate was now fluttering like a tissue in the wind. Cloud Pierce's bullets were still chasing Lord Grim, but at this moment, in a trance, Jiang Botao almost felt like those bullets were coming at him, that they were covering Lord Grim's offensive. Colliding stab. Lord Grim crashed into empty waves. Right after Tang Rou, Steamed Bun, those two characters also switched their target immediately, suddenly rushing in this direction as well. Suma Chung's heavy firepower on the other end of the map had already begun blasting toward empty waves. Switching targets again. Happy's rhythm had truly made Jiang Botao dizzy. There was no organization sometimes, yet in just a moment, this kind focused fire could burst forth. This rapid switching meant that Samsara was always chasing Happy's rhythm. They'd firmly lost the initiative. End chapter.
The King's Avatar, Chapter 1712. Fight 2 together. Audio source: wuxia-world-audiobook.com. Chapter 1712. Fight 2 together. Translator: Gnome Yummy. Editor: Gnome Yummy. Had Happy already established the upper hand? It was clear that Happy had the initiative on the field right now, causing many people to think this way. But while the situation on the battlefield was always fluctuating, the overall advantage could be seen from the data. Health. After such a long battle, the health of all 8 of the characters still on the battlefield had been depleted. Especially since there were no healers left, comparing this stat became extremely clear. Before this, in terms of total health, Happy was lagging behind. In the two exchanges earlier, Happy had been catching up under unfavorable situations. In order to catch up and complete their own attacks, they had no choice but to suffer some additional damage that may have been otherwise avoidable. But after these two exchanges, Happy grasped the rhythm, and they had focused Zhang Boteo's empty waves twice already. Focusing fire was the main way of killing an opponent during a team battle, but when to focus, when not to focus, when to stop focusing, there was much to learn. Even if 5 players controlled their characters to fire all of their attacks toward one target, that didn't guarantee that this was a successfully threatening focus. If focused attacks weren't timed at a good opportunity, they might not even be able to successfully focus the target in the first place. Right now, Happy had seized a good opportunity to focus. Lord Grim and Dancing Rain's attacks were already on display, and Soft Mist and Steamed Bun Invasion were close behind. Then now, how long this focus could last, when to stop focusing, these were the important questions. If they simply outputted damage without any thought, then they might discover that after dealing an amount of damage that they were satisfied with, the damage they suffered might be even greater than what they'd dealt. But right now, Samsara didn't even want to give this question to Happy. They hoped to stop their focusing offensive before Soft Mist and Steamed Bun began attacking. Even though they had the upper hand when it came to overall health, Zhang Boteo's empty waves had the lowest health remaining out of all 8 characters still on the battlefield. He was the only one who had fallen below 50%. If Happy actually succeeded with this focus, and Samsara wasn't fast enough in disrupting them, he might actually die to this offensive wave. Even if they saved him in the end, they had no healer. A character with extremely low health would be a great burden. In the team competition, 50% damage split between 5 characters versus 50% damage taken by one character, those were 2 entirely different situations. The advantage would shift drastically. Shadow clone technique. With this kind of "I'd rather take damage as well than let Zhang Boteo suffer alone" attitude, Wu Qi directly used his fastest movement skill. With a shadow clone technique, Cruel Silence directly threw himself into the center of Happy's offensive. This position was even more convenient for Happy to target than Empty Wave's current position. He was right at the center of Lord Grim, Soft Mist, and Steamed Bun Invasion's lines of attack. Switch targets? Then this focus fire would be split, and Empty Waves and Cruel Silence would take it together. Don't switch targets? The position that Cruel Silence had taken now was an obstacle to Soft Mist and Steamed Bun Invasion's offensives as well. A choice dangled in front of Happy: sugar hiding poison. Lord Grim attacked. Did they switch? Wu Qi was prepared. Of these 2 choices, switching targets brought more benefit. If they didn't switch, this focus fire might be broken. If they switched, at least they could take out a chunk of Cruel Silence's health. But Wu Qi, of course, hadn't prepared to just obediently stand there for Happy to grab. He had made such a decision, so how could he not have made some plans? He wasn't Steam Bun, who just randomly walked step by step. He was a proper pro player, who took 1 step and looked 3 steps ahead. So, the position he'd taken with this shadow clone technique was carefully selected from the start. He was slightly closer to Lord Grim, so that when Happy switched, Lord Grim would attack first, and Zhang Boteo would immediately have a chance to breathe. And he wouldn't immediately facing a pincer on 3 sides. He and Zhang Boteo could cooperate to deal with this situation, making things a bit more difficult for Happy. Lord Grim lifted his hand. Grab. Wu Qi saw it very clearly. He thought, Yishu must be trying to throw his Cruel Silence away, and with that, Happy could continue to focus Empty Waves. As expected, Yishu wasn't the type to settle with the way things were. He was an expert who created more opportunities from the options he was given. But, how could it be so easy? Wu Qi inputted controls as fast as he could. Cruel Silence moved horizontally. As he dodged, he wanted to lure Lord Grim towards him, to lighten up on Zhang Teo even more. In his view, Yishu had already taken the first step to switch targets. Then, no matter what, he wouldn't just give up again. Starting from this moment, he was leading Happy by the nose. But to his surprise, when his cruel silence dodged, Lord Grim actually twisted back. That hand he extended ultimately landed on Empty Wave's body. Fling. Empty Waves was tossed outward, but he wasn't thrown far, he was in fact thrown very close. Lord Grim just twisted his body, and Empty Waves was sent flying toward the nearby cruel silence. Fuck. WuxiaWorldAudio.com. Wu Qi couldn't help but curse in his heart. Yishu's actions turned out to be even more cunning than he'd expected. Choosing who to focus. Throwing far to get rid of interference. Not at all. A feint to dodge cruel silence, and then he grabbed Empty Waves and threw him over here. If he crashed into cruel silence, then the two of them would be focused together. How greedy. In your dreams. Wu Qi immediately controlled cruel silence to jump backward. Empty Waves was right under his nose, but in the end, they didn't collide. But shortly after, cruel silence found himself flying forward outside of his control. Fuck. Only now did Wu Qi realize. This push and then dodge had given the guys behind him enough time to catch up. Without waiting for him to make any controls, cruel silence had already been blasted down, the ground filling his vision. He suffered attack after attack from behind, and they even counted as back attacks. This clearly wasn't a typical sweeping attack. To be directly knocked down in one go, Wu Qi had already realized this was the tyrannical chain punch of Happy's brawler. A huge attack, not to deal with Empty Waves, but to knock over himself. Happy was actually planning to focus both of them at once. Wu Qi had delivered himself right to them to be eaten. In the blink of an eye, cannon fire descended upon cruel silence and Empty Waves. Clearly, Happy was outputting damage toward the two targets together. It was a shame that the other three of Happy only had average AoE ability, but focusing the two opponents like this, it was clear that this boosted their overall damage output. The broadcast displayed the total health of the two teams. Happy, who had been lagging behind earlier, used this bout of focused fire to successfully deplete Samsara's total health. Could they directly take out the two of them? Some of the greedier Happy fans were already holding these kinds of hopes, but this evidently wasn't realistic. This round of focus fire ultimately only lasted for a few moments. Steam Bun Invasion knocked Cruel Silence to the ground and began to beat him up, but when Soft Mist arrived, she only managed one attack before Sun Zhang's one Autumn Leaf arrived before her. Moreover, Cloud Piercer's gunfire had never stopped, and this time, his sharpshooter was already rushing toward them like a close-range attacker. End chapter.
The King's Avatar, Chapter 1713 Failure to Find a Path. Audio source, WuxiaWorldAudiobook.com. Chapter 1713 Failure to Find a Path. Translator, Nomyami. Editor, Nomyami. Surprise wasn't an element unique to Happy. Josekai had always been someone who performed astonishing feats. Cloud Piercer fired his guns as he ran. He was closing the distance to increase his firepower. With a slide kick, he reached the limits. Flip over and jump. Cloud Piercer dodged Soft Mist's attack. As he flipped up, his guns roared with sparks. The bullets looked like sword stabs, but their speed was far faster than what any close-ranged class could achieve. Blood burst into the air. Soft Mist, who was closest to him, wasn't able to dodge and was hit by the bullets. Firearm martial arts. Josekai used another skill. Cloud Piercer kicked Soft Mist aside. Right now, he needed to break open the situation. He didn't plan on focusing a single target. After kicking aside Soft Mist, he continued to shoot, while throwing an elbow at Steamed Bun Invasion. Steamed Bun Invasion had just finished using Tyrannical Chain Punch, and didn't think much of Josekai. With Tang-ro handling him, he felt like there was nothing to worry about, so he continued to focus on Cruel Silence. But Tang-ro was sent flying by Josekai, and without any pause, Cloud Pierce's attacks rushed towards Steamed Bun Invasion. Hua! A huge object suddenly filled up Josekai's screen. Lord Grimm's myriad manifestations umbrella opened, instantly blocking Cloud Pierce's vision. Screensaver attack. Josekai immediately cancelled his attack and had Cloud Piercer retreat rapidly. The myriad manifestations umbrella transformed into its spear form and gave chase. Suddenly, an earthquake swept across the ground, forcing Lord Grimm to halt. Boom! An explosion sounded from the side. Sun Xiang coordinated with Josekai. With a falling flower palm, one autumn leaf sent soft mist flying towards Steamed Bun Invasion and Lord Grimm. Steamed Bun Invasion dodged to the side, and as if he were taking revenge, he grabbed Cruel Silence with a fling, and threw him over to one autumn leaf. Sun Xiang had one autumn leaf dodge, but to his surprise, Cruel Silence suddenly stopped in mid-air and arced towards Cloud Piercer. Circle swing. Cruel Silence was unexpectedly fished back by Soft Mist, who had just been sent flying by a falling flower palm. Sun Xiang's attack was neutralized by Tang-ro. Cruel Silence's suddenly turn in the air was no less surprising than Steamed Bun's erratic plays. Josekai's attention had mainly been on Yishu's Lord Grimm. As a result, he wasn't able to react in time. The two characters collided and crashed to the ground together. The stadium was in an uproar. However, gunshots continued to be heard. Cloud Piercer had collided with Cruel Silence. It had been too late for him to dodge, so Josekai finished his attacks. Bullet holes riddled Soft Mist's body. Josekai's extremely difficult gunshots had been sent entirely towards Soft Mist. No, that wasn't all. Delivery gun. Countless people discovered that not only was Soft Mist hit by the bullets, she was fixed in the air. Only a delivery gun could achieve this. Under those circumstances, just hitting the target was already hard enough, but also completing a delivery gun that required extreme precision and speed. It wasn't something a normal person could even imagine being able to do. However, Josekai had done it. The crowd had gone wild, seeing Cloud Piercer and Cruel Silence collide. A short moment later, ear-deafening cheers echoed across the stadium. Sure enough, Josekai was the unrivaled protagonist of this stage. Rising Dragon soars the sky. Sun Xiang's one autumn leaf unleashed a rising dragon soars the sky. His evil annihilation transformed into a powerful dragon, letting everyone know the significance of Josekai's feat. Soft Mist, who was held into place by the delivery guns, became finest delicacy for the dragon. There was nowhere for her to run. Boom. Battle magic erupted, affecting Steamed Bun and Yishu as well. They were too close to the center of the attack. The light blinded their vision, becoming a form of cover for Cruel Silence and Cloud Piercer. Get up. Josekai used Quick Recover to avoid the knockdown effect. Wuqi's Cruel Silence had been grabbed by Circle Swing, so he couldn't use Quick Recover. However, after getting knocked to the ground, he immediately got up at a speed faster than the average player's Quick Recover. Cruel Silence didn't retreat. He rushed towards the exploding magic. Empty waves also swept towards the blinding light. Focus. Samsara was focusing on a target. Even after so many back and forths, they were able to maintain their focus on Soft Mist. With this burst of attacks, Samsara regained the overall health lead on Happy. Samsara maintained this health lead as their focus on Soft Mist continued. They ignored Dancing Rain's artillery fire. They ignored the pincer from Lord Grimm and Steamed Bun Invasion. Their attention was only on soft mist. It was as if they didn't know what going too far meant, as they greedily focused on killing soft mist. What's going on? Samsara was playing beautifully, but no one thought that they would be able to kill soft mist in one burst. However, Samsara didn't think the same. Nebula Wave Slash. Samsara showed their confidence in themselves. The Spellblade skill came from Jiang Botao's empty waves. Magic burst out, enveloping soft mist and separating her from the others. Steamed Bun Invasion raised his arms and threw a brick at empty waves. Pa! The brick was shattered into pieces by Nebula Wave Slash. This high-level skill wasn't going to be broken so easily. In that case, Poison Needle. In that case, Molotov Cocktail. Steamed Bun Invasion had a lot of tools that he could use, but in everyone's eyes, it was all a waste of time. Not a single one of the skills was able to break through Nebula Wave Slash. Steamed Bun refused to run. He was going to stay right there and leave his stupidity behind. Santos. He was still continuing. What's the point? Everyone thought to themselves. But suddenly, Jiang Botao began to get worried. As Steamed Bun Invasion attacked, he turned to look at the other side, which was where Lord Grimm was located. Sure enough. WuxaWorldAudio.com. Lord Grimm was beginning to move. Jiang Botao didn't know if Steamed Bun was faking his stupidity, or if he actually was just stupid, but he did know that Yizhu wasn't stupid. As a result, it didn't matter whether Steamed Bun was being stupid, the important part was what Yizhu would do in this situation. Steamed Bun Invasion kept throwing out pointless skills, but they were only pointless because Jiang Botao was paying attention to them. When he dealt with these attacks, the other areas of Nebula Wave Slash would be sparser, and holes in his defense might appear. Lord Grimm was taking advantage of these distractions to make his way through. Sure enough, Yizhu knew how to seize opportunities. Beat them at their own game. Jiang Botao suddenly thought. No. In the end, he gave up on the idea. He decided that he was going to handle this situation in the most reliable way possible. He knew that Yizhu couldn't be up to any good, and Yizhu was far more experienced and skilled than him in complicated scenarios. As a result, Empty Waves kept a low profile as he dodged the sand toss. The Nebula Wave Slash silently crept towards Lord Grimm's side. He didn't increase his offensive threat excessively. He was just patching up any previous gaps. Lord Grimm stopped moving. Sure enough, that was where Yizhu had intending on breaking through. Yizhu tried to search for another way in, but he quickly discovered that Jiang Botao wasn't making any excessive adjustments. He was only dealing with the problems at hand. This is going to be difficult. More adjustments meant more choices. More choices meant more strategies. With more strategies, it was more likely for him to find a way in. However, when the changes in a situation were limited, only one option became available. It was easy to walk along a single path, but there was also only one exit. And if the other side was ready for them at that only exit, this definitely wasn't a path that Happy wanted to tread upon, which was why Yizhu wanted to try an alternate path. But in the end, Samsara had sealed off this alternate route. Even worse, they weren't given any opportunities to try again. End chapter.